Hey dudes, let's talk more about farming maps. Good maps are the backbone of any successful farming strategy, right? Finding ways to farm more maps per hour is one of our favorite things to talk about and build strategies around. So we have a second strategy for you here today, and this one is basically the companion strategy to our 8 mod map farming strategy from yesterday. You can use one or both of them, they each have their strengths and weaknesses, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But first, be sure to like and subscribe and join our Discord as well. Alright, so we mentioned this yesterday, but one of the main things that really changed our whole philosophy around farming more maps at a time was the change that GGG made to the cartography Scarab of Corruption in patch 3.27. It was never in any patch notes, it may still be a bug that they just haven't caught, but whatever. This Scarab now makes it so that when you have it active and you find a tier 17 map, you're running a tier 16 or a tier 16.5, that map will drop and it will be corrupted with 8 modifiers. I think I might have sold them all. Yeah, I did. So the issue is, they're corrupted. Sure, they have 8 modifiers, which is more than a standard tier 17, but you can't roll them anymore, they may have terrible mods, whatever. There's kind of nothing you can do with them, maybe you can sell them for half price or feed them to your mappers. It just kind of stinks. So unfortunately, this means you kind of have to have 2 different strategies, 2 different approaches to farming 8 mod maps. You do one strategy in tier 17 maps, farming as many maps as possible, specifically looking for maps like these that have like more maps modifiers on them. This one's an insane one. And you use this Corruption Scarab. That's basically the strategy from yesterday. And then you have another strategy that you do that doesn't use Corruption Scarab, doesn't use 8 mod map farming like at all as a part of it. And you do that strategy in tier 16 and tier 16.5 maps while still using a lot of things that will help you get more monsters to die, more maps to drop. And that will result in more uncorrupted tier 17s and uncorrupted tier 16.5s. And this is kind of nice, right? You're able to ping pong back and forth between the 2 strategies, farm up tons of these valuable maps, like right now, tier 16.5 dunes are something like 15 to 20 chaos each. With the kind of current state of the economy in PoE, fortress maps are at least 50 chaos each, maybe more. They're probably closer to half a divine a piece. So sometimes you'll have a map where you'll have a couple of fortress maps drop, and yeah, that's basically the same as a raw divine. So the easiest way to get a bunch of maps to drop in your maps is just to kill a lot of monsters in every single map, and so that's exactly what we're doing. So let's go ahead and start off with the Atlas passive tree that we're using here, and talk about the mechanic we're using to spawn a ton of monsters, Settlers. So there are really 2 big, juicy aspects to Settlers. There's the Bismuth Infusion, which empowers all of the magic and rare monsters in the entire map, and it causes them to have extra modifiers. This makes them drop a bunch of stuff. This is a favorite bonus of a lot of high-level players. It really just adds like a ton of extra juice into your maps to have 1 Bismuth node show up at all, and then if you get that 30% chance for an extra modifier proc out of the Bismuth Infusion node, then it's like really just a huge amount of extra juice from all of the monsters in the rest of the map. You can then scale this up by scaling up magic pack size a whole bunch, and that is what we do. Then the other thing you can do to get a ton of monsters out of Settlers League is to use Crimson Infusion. The Crimson Iron Ore nodes aren't really that valuable on their own. Like metal in general from Settlers League isn't really all that valuable, but Crimson Iron just spawns a lot of guys, and if you take the node for it, it then adds 2 additional growths, which basically has something like doubles the amount of guys that spawn because they spawn more as the events go on. So you're just getting a tidal wave of demons coming out of the Crimson Iron growths. You can also take Verisium Infusion. You basically would just like take some Scarab nodes out and take that. This will mean more chances to find Verisium. If you're trying to find the Black Knight and hope you can get a Svalin to drop from him, you can do that. If you like doing the Verisium events, most people don't, you can do that as well, but for the most part, you're really just trying to get a Bismuth Infusion in every single map, and then as many Crimson Iron Ore deposits as possible, because they just spawn like an insane tsunami of guys. Then other than that, we are taking all of the standard map drop nodes, all of them, and then we're taking just like a bunch of Scarab stuff, right? Like we're just taking everything we can to increase pack size and number of maps that drop, do everything to bump that map equity up, because we are running corrupted 8 mod maps. We're not taking Chiseled Perfection. If you're not running corrupted 8 mod maps, it's probably in the best strategy, to be honest, but if you want to do this in like tier 17s or something, boom, take that 1 point, that's it. Just do remember to do it, don't forget it. Then there are a bunch of other nodes around the area for Settlers League that are like kinda good. Like yield upon yield gives you more chance of more ore nodes. Fortune's Favor increases the chance of rarer varieties of ore. Basically, it gives you more chances at bismuth, which you really want those bismuth in like every single map, so that's good. Lost in Transit's like kind of a fun one, but it actually is a bit of a spoiler because it does turn some of your Crimson Iron or bismuth nodes into like mostly worthless shipments, but they could be fun. Sometimes you can get like a divine or a nice tattoo, but it's more often that it's bad. And then finally, we're taking, all the Eater of Worlds pack size that we can. And then, like I said, we're just kind of filling out with like Scarab stuff for the rest of the points. So if you wanted to do something else, you can. Kind of up to you. Fitting in shrines, I don't really think is worth it because we are kind of going hard in the paint on settlers related stuff. But there's a little bit of wiggle room if you wanted to play around with something else. Then after that, we are taking settlers in the tree. That's the standard approach here. We're taking settlers because this is going to guarantee at least one settlers node, 50% chance of a second or more in each map just from the tree, then 2 from the map device, and then we are taking 1 Calgarin Scarab for an extra ore deposit, and we're multiplying all of this by using the Calgarin Scarab of Guarded Riches. This makes all of the monsters at all of the ore nodes be magic, which massively increases the amount of crap that they will drop. Then we're using an Escalation Scarab that's kind of mandatory. We're doing 8 mod map farming, we are hunting maps. This makes sense, right? We're gonna get 80% more, 80% increased maps in all of our maps because of this 1 Scarab, and we're very specifically not doing Corruption Scarab stuff because we want to find uncorrupted tier 17s and tier 16.5s. We're getting at least between tier 16.5 dunes and tier 17 fortress maps, we're basically getting like 1 or 2 in every single map, if not more. Sometimes we'll get lucky with Eldritch Altar, map duplication, or quantity nodes. Those can be really valuable, and yeah, they're good. Then on top of that, we're just kind of using Monstrous Lineage Scarabs. These are just generically awesome. You get so many more magic monsters in each of your maps out of these, so that is basically the Scarab setup. Calgarin Scarab of Guarded Riches, massive multiplier on the value of all the monsters from the Settler ore nodes, 1 Calgarin Scarab and 1 Escalation, 2 Monstrous Lineage. So I did play around with a few different things to try and make this like a high-level juicing strategy, less map-focused and more like, what if I could find 1,000,000 Scarabs with this, using Horned Scarab of Bloodlines and tier 17s, and the results were kind of mixed. Sometimes you'd basically just break even, sometimes you're finding like 3 or 4 divs worth of Scarabs and currency and stuff. It was a very fun strategy, but it was just kind of inconsistent. So, in terms of recommending it, there's a lot of room to play around with stuff. Tried playing around with Wisp Scarabs as well, didn't really love that either. This really works best as a map farming strategy. And one of the big differences between this and the strategy from yesterday, where your Corrupted 8 mod map farming, is that one is really choked out on the amount of Scarabs you have available to like make it be good, and this one is kind of the opposite. This one has a ton of free Scarabs available. You're basically only guaranteed to run like the 1 Cartography Scarab of Escalation, and then you kind of have a bunch of free spaces for the rest, which these seem like the best configuration of options, but that is ultimately why we didn't really love running tier 17s with this particular setup of running settlers and trying to farm 8 mod maps, because there just wasn't enough Scarab room to support it. And also this strategy is slower, which is fine for tier 16 maps, maybe not as good for tier 17 and tier 16.5 maps that are really juicy. With that being said, you can kind of use either strategy. It's probably not the best use of your Atlas passive trees to have 2 different map farming strategies, although that is the way we are currently set up. I feel like a greedy piggy, but I kind of wouldn't mind having like another 5 or 10 more Atlas strategy options available. But yeah, ultimately these are like 2 really good complementary farm strategies that you can kind of do one for a long time, farm a bunch of valuable maps, then run some of them yourself and sell them off to other people, the ones that you don't want to run. Farming up tier 17s and selling them off to other people is an incredibly valuable strategy. Like just looking in this map tab right here, this is like 8 divines, and this took like no time at all to farm, so that certainly works well too. Alright, yeah, that's pretty much it. Super quick and easy, right? So we'll leave you with this final question here. What is your favorite action movie? I watched The Fugitive and Mission Impossible, the original one, yesterday, and those were pretty fun movies. I'd kind of forgotten how fun the 90s could be in terms of action movies. Alright, let us know in the comments. Again, action movies, we're fishing for recommendations here. Okay, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord and become part of our community. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more PoE content, become a channel member or come boost the Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.